What's up, y'all? It's TruthTiger, and today I'm going to talk about how these Epstein files are just the beginning. I talked about something similar yesterday, but I got to talk on this more because, man, there's these Epstein files, and there's this Epstein Island, and there's this horrible, creepy stuff that is happening that the global elites are doing or are participating in, that the leaders of industry, leaders of government, leaders of healthcare, leaders in the military, leaders in education, leaders of whatever kind of world leader, they're involved in this type of stuff. And there's the Diddy parties too, there's that as well. And I just want to reiterate, like, this is like a thing that the global elites do around the world. They have these really creepy sex parties. They do awful stuff to children, awful stuff to minors, and I was going over more of these Epstein files and talking with some people about them, and oh my gosh, the stuff that's in there is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was telling me about how people with these Epstein connections, or these kind of creepy global elite, Satanists, Luciferians, whatever you want to call them, they would have these babies, but they would not put a social security number on the baby, so they could have this kind of off-the-grid baby for really nasty ABUSC, PDF file purposes, and they would literally raise children just for that. And I heard stuff that they would have girls who seemed to also be underage, they'd get them pregnant, and then they would use them, they'd breed them, and they'd keep the children, and they would, molest the children too, and it was a whole horrible cycle. They would obviously threaten these children who were caught up in this with violence, threaten to kill them, threaten them really horribly, and I think a lot of them did actually lose their lives to the global elitists and were killed by the global elitists for speaking out. And man, what a horrible situation, what a horrible thing. And if you've ever heard of a guy named Nathan Reynolds, so he grew up in like a Luciferian Illuminati family and was sold to this rich family as a child to be used sexually by these creepy elites. Check him out. He tells this whole story. He talks about all these really creepy blood rituals they would do. They would drink blood, cover themselves in blood, do all kinds of stuff to talk to the devil and to talk to fallen angels, and it's really, really insane stuff. Another person you should listen to is Anneke Lucas, I believe her name is. She is a woman from Belgium, and her mother sold her as a child into an elite PDF file ring, and she was used sexually while she was very underaged, and she tells her whole testimony, and that was in Belgium. So again, we're seeing stuff okay, this is not just one Epstein Island. This is stuff they're doing all over America, all over the world, everywhere they are doing this type of stuff. This is common practice for the global elites. It's what they do. It's what they do. They worship the devil, they're Luciferians, they're Satanists, and they molest children. It's what they do. It's their playbook. It's what they're about. It's what they're into, and they've tried to hide it. They've tried to keep it a secret, but the secret is out. And the thing is, this is a big blackmail web with the Epstein Island too. They would try to get people to come there specifically so they could blackmail them, get the video footage, and control them. It's funny because I was watching a ton of videos about this and researching it and stuff, and I guess they tried to invite Joe Rogan, but he said no. And the way they describe it is Joe Rogan is a lot more timid than I thought. That's what Jeffrey Epstein says about him, which is his way of saying that, he's too shy, he's too scared to come to the island, he's, doesn't want to do that. But yeah, it seems like there's still, I guess, some people who said no and didn't go and stuff. And at the same time, and I like Joe Rogan a lot. I think he's cool. I like his podcast, whatever. But the thing about a guy like Joe Rogan, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to him at all, is for one, like, he's friends with Alex Jones. So Alex Jones is probably like, don't go to that island, Joe. If you get invited, stay far away from it. Sorry, my throat's been a little bit sore doing the Alex Jones voice. Didn't help. But yeah, like, the thing about a guy like Joe Rogan is he probably knew a lot of people who were involved in that. And he probably, and I get why you want to keep your mouth shut. People won't believe you. You could make the wrong enemies. You could lose your life, lose your livelihood. I mean, I understand why he didn't speak out about this directly, despite, definitely knowing what was going on. And, there's a thing of like, okay, if you have certain friends that are involved in this, cut those friends out, but then you cut those friends out, you got less podcast guests, you got less money. So there is kind of the idea of people who knew what was going on, but weren't involved, but didn't really say anything. So, I mean, the whole thing is like, there was a lot of enabling going on. There was a lot of people who were bystanders, and I understand people were probably scared. I mean, I get that. I don't know what I would do if I was some rich guy in that situation. I'd probably just keep up the status quo and be like, well, I got tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't want to lose what I got. Just kind of, I'm not going to go there, but I'll just try not to talk about it, try not to think about it, So, I mean, I get that when you got the riches of the world and you're rich and successful. But that's the thing is, there was definitely a lot of people who knew about it, but didn't go, but didn't really speak out about it. And when you think about the victims and how horrible it really is, that's not really a good stance to take. So, I wish Joe would have spoken up, but I'm not going to hammer that point too hard. I mean, really, the people who did it, the perpetrators, those are the real people that need to be gone after. And a lot of digging needs to be done to find out all these cults, all these Epstein Islands, all these... Because I think with a lot of them, what they do, and I think they did this a lot in Hollywood, they would have these, like, these kind of Luciferian satanic sex parties and stuff. You hear a lot of rappers or former rappers talk about this, where they were maybe had to perform a certain sex act that they did not want to perform, or some kind of something, they needed to make some kind of deal with the devil or something. You can watch a lot of these interviews, and apparently that was happening a lot in Hollywood. But I think it's happening the whole world over. I think it's happening all over the world. This kind of crazy stuff is going on. And, when I really dig deep into the juicy details of it, there's some stuff in there that's just, like, beyond disgusting. Like, eating a child, number one, I've seen multiple references to that, of where they would literally eat and cannibalize and consume children. And it's just like, I have no words, I have no emotions. And when you're presented with something like that, you just have to just be like, you gotta kind of make some light of it, because I don't want to even imagine that or think about that. I mean, it's almost like cartoonishly evil, but they really did this stuff. I saw something about them eating fecal matter out of the intestines of a dead baby or a dead child, and I mean, like, this stuff is so, depraved does not even begin to describe it. I mean, it's beyond disgusting. It's beyond disgusting, it's beyond insane, it's beyond horrible, and it's just like, we got to keep digging, we got to keep pushing, we got to keep posting about it, talking about it. And the thing is also, like, I don't see any protests for the Epstein files. Everyone's protesting ICE right now. No one's protesting the Epstein files. No one's protesting the global elites or the Epstein files. And that's what we got to be protesting. I mean, I guess a couple people, I talked about this yesterday, but I guess a couple people, some leftists in New York, who voted for this Mamdani guy as a socialist, and then his mom's in the Epstein files, and I guess they protested outside the mayor's manor in New York or something. So that's a start. That's a start. But we got to get out there and at least protest this. At least be like, hey, all these people, they got to go to jail or worse. Something's got to happen here. We can't just be like, status quo, stuff's all good, it's all cool. Nah, it's not all cool. It's really not. And the thing is, it's like, We can't trust these politicians or these leaders in business, these global leaders, these global elites, whatever they might be involved in. We can't trust them because they lied about not being in the Epstein files. They lied about not going to the island. They all lied. Jeffrey Epstein's not my friend. We never knew him. I never liked him. They all lied. And the truth is going to come out about them. You know, I mean, one thing a friend was telling me, this was before the latest release of files. One thing he was telling me is apparently Stephen Hawking found himself on the Epstein Island. And I don't know if this is true or not. This could be hearsay, but when they asked him, what kind of stuff are you into? He said, midgets doing calculus. And I think that was probably a coy answer where he kind of realized, like, I'm overpowered, I'm outgunned, I'm on an island, I got nowhere to run to, and I'm stuck in a wheelchair. I'll just kind of tell them something a little ridiculous to throw them off the scent. Or maybe that was what Stephen Hawking was into. Maybe that was his kink. I don't know, but I mean, I definitely think there were some people that found themselves there that were like, oh crap, where am I? But I think most of them wanted to be there, were into it, were down with it, and I just think like these elitists, they're very ego-driven, they're very greedy, they're very like about pleasure and hedonism and expanding the ego. And eventually you'll want to do some really messed up stuff to feel pleasure. And if you have all the money and connections in the world, there's no limitations. So it'll go to some really dark places. Not to mention that, you know, they are involved in this satanic religion, this Luciferianism, to serve the devil. And, you know, part of serving the devil is doing heinous acts of evil. If you want to serve God, you do good. You do acts of love, acts of kindness. If you want to serve the devil, you do acts of evil, acts of hatred. And what's more hateful than, doing horrible sexual things to a child and then sacrificing that child? That's one of the worst things you can possibly do. That's one of the most evil, nasty things you could do. And they do that to pledge allegiance to the devil, so the devil will give them hidden knowledge or something. I don't know, but the whole thing is so twisted, and, you know, you wouldn't even think this stuff would be true. You would not even think this stuff would be true, but it is. It is. And, you know, the thing about the documents also, there's so many names that are redacted or covered in that black bar where you can't tell what the name is. So there's more stuff on there. There's stuff they're hiding. There's stuff they're hiding still. And then there's all the stuff that didn't get documented that happened that they did. And this stuff, it goes back hundreds of years, thousands of years. I mean, it goes back a long time. There's a whole history of it. So, I mean, it really gives me a lot of hope that your average person is starting to talk about this and is starting to wake up to it and starting to come face to face with it and come to grips with it. But, man, you know, like, the Epstein files, they're just the beginning. They are just the beginning. And where this thing ends, I don't know, but I'm sure there is a lot of this stuff going on all over the world, all over America, all over Europe, all over Asia, Africa, South America, Australia, whatever. I'm sure this stuff is going on all over the world. And, you know, if you look at Epstein's dealings, I mean, he goes to a lot of different countries. He goes to Mexico. He spends a lot of time in Israel. I believe he goes to China. He goes to Russia. I think he goes to Saudi Arabia or the UAE. He's quite all over the world. He's quite the world traveler. Quite the world traveler. Quite the internationalist. Which means this stuff is happening globally. On a global level and on a global scale. I've heard a lot of stuff about what they'll do is they'll make like a fake charity that like helps, you know, children in war-torn countries, or we're going to save these children in Eastern Europe. We're going to save these Asian children. We're going to save these African children, or whatever it may be. You know, they get some kind of setup like that. But really, the children are being used for horrible sexual things, and they're just being, they're just being thrown to the global elitists, They're just being thrown to those wolves. I shouldn't even call them wolves. Thrown to those freaking snakes. It's a better way to describe them, but they're just being thrown into the snake pit of the global elites. I've heard about them doing stuff like that, and man, and there's like, I heard this, who was it? It's Deepak Chopra, I guess. He was pretty big in the Epstein files. I mean, you're hearing so many names come out of this person, that person. I can't even keep up. He's just the latest guy that I saw come up, but it is crazy. It is crazy with these Epstein files. It is beyond evil, beyond horrible, beyond reprehensible. And the thing is, I'm not a perfect person. You're not a perfect person. None of us are perfect people, but I mean, this is just so far past the line. I mean, this just is so over the line. I mean, in terms of just the level of evil, it's so beyond evil, so beyond cruel, so beyond messed up, and the global elites are in this. The global elites are all in this mess. They're all in this nastiness, and it's all going to come crashing down on their heads. People say there's not going to be justice. They're going to get away with it. Nah, too many people know. Too much stuff is being released. They're going to go down. They're going to go down hard. And your average person is way too aware. And I said this in my last video, but a lot of people are using this as an opportunity for political gain. For them to say, oh, look at all these Democrats on the Epstein list. Look at all these Republicans on the Epstein list. Look at this person. Look at that person. They're all on the Epstein list. And I don't think they care that much about Republican or Democrat. I think they just use that as a false dichotomy to control us anyways. And if we're so hoorah-rah about that, we're not going to actually worry about coming together and putting these creepos to justice. Putting these weirdos, these absolutely creepy, nasty weirdo, psychopathic. I mean, they're worse than psychopaths. They're like worse than that. Like, I mean, just these abhorrent people who, deserve to burn in hell for all eternity. I mean, I don't say that about a lot of people. I try not to go there, but, eternal damnation exists for a reason. There's a reason why God uses eternal damnation as a punishment, because there's people who deserve it, and these global elitists, they do deserve to burn in the pit of hell for all eternity, and that hellfire is going to start here on earth for them. It is. As more and more stuff starts to crash down, more and more dominoes start to fall. And, in order for us to do justice as people, as human beings, in order for us to do justice, we've got to let go of all this political BS, all this political nonsense, all this, I'm going to fight for this political ideals, or I'm going to fight for this political person. We got to let celebrity worship too. Worship of money and corporations, all this stuff. We gotta let all that go. We gotta let all that go, and we gotta clean house, because this stuff it's reprehensible, it's horrible, it's nasty, it's disgusting, and subtly that stuff trickles down to us little people. Subtly that lack of morality, even if we don't know about it, it's kind of like that just really nasty, secretive, creepy way of the world. It trickles down to us. So if we can have good people at the top running stuff, then, it'll be good for the people at the bottom. But if you have creepy, satanic PDF files at the top running stuff, it's going to be bad for the people at the bottom. They're going to use manipulation to run the world. They're not going to use true good leadership. It's going to all just be manipulation and trickery and fakeness, and it's all going to be a bunch of big games. And if you think about it, everything's kind of fake. The politics are fake. Money's fake. I mean, all this stuff is just kind of an abstraction or an illusion. Different video, but, you know, we got to let go of those illusions if we want to see some justice happen. And if we all put our collective consciousness towards that, instead of putting our collective consciousness towards politics or towards money or ideology or towards the system or towards whatever distraction they're trying to give us, if we put our collective conscious towards justice, towards doing the right thing, towards getting, you know, these insane Luciferian PDF file cannibal horrible people out of power, it'll happen pretty easily. But if our consciousness is towards all this other stuff, we'll be too distracted, too apathetic, and it won't happen. So that's kind of my invitation for everybody. I mean, myself too. I've been distracted by politics. I believed in politics. I've been distracted by money. I've bought into all that nonsense too. I'm not saying I'm any better, but if we could put all that aside, you know, to start doing that all together and start to focus on justice and truth and love and doing the right thing and doing what God would want, then, you know, it will happen. It will manifest, you know, and these people will be put to justice. So, yeah, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you all so much for watching. Much love. God bless. And I will see you all next time.